Okay, we're good.
Okay. So the regular board meeting of the governing board of trustees for Romoland School District is called to order at 5:30 p.m. Roll call, Mr. Reller,
Here.
Mrs. Kleitz,
Here.
myself, Mr. Gary, both Mr. Sperry and Mrs. Moon will not be joining us this evening. Do we have any public comments for closed session?
No, we do not.
Okay. Then we will go to closed session and it'll be called at 5:31 to discuss public employee disciplines, dismissals, and release and negotiations.
Oh, I'm just confirming that people can hear me.
I can hear you.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Damn it.
Are we good to go?
Yes, we are.
Okay. The regular board meeting for the Romoland School District reconvenes at 6:30. Ms. Kleitz, was there any action taken in closed session? Mrs. Kleitz, was there any?
Sorry about that. There was no action taken in closed session.
Okay. We'll now do the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll now read the governance norms. We agree to act with dignity, respect differences, build trust, work as a team, engage the public, focus on success of every student, work together for the common good. Okay, and then do you have any? We're gonna go on the board's reports. Mrs. Kleitz, do you have anything to report?
I have nothing at this time.
Mr. Reller, anything to report?
Thank you, Mr. Geary. Today is a very special day in a lot of members of our community and our country. and the state of California. It is the Marine Corps' birthday today. So I want to make sure we say happy birthday to all the Marines out there, past, present, and future Marines, because there's a lot of young devil pups out there that are going to be our future Marines. I also want to recognize our veterans. Tomorrow's Veterans Day, where we honor those who have served, are serving now in the military, armed forces. They do that voluntarily to protect our country and to preserve the rights that each and every one of us have. I know we have veterans that are working in our classrooms and supporting our staff in the classrooms and supporting each and every one of our schools, and I really do want to thank them for their service to our country. Here recently, we had Romoland School District had an item on the ballot, Measure P. Even though every single ballot has not been counted yet, the outcome does not look good for Measure P. And those of you who do not know, Measure P was put on the ballot to increase safety, security, and make improvements at every single one of our schools, as well as build another school to prevent overcrowding. Because here in Southwest Riverside County, we're growing faster than pretty much any part of Riverside County because our home prices are so good and our school districts are so amazing. But without that bond, we are going to need to make some very difficult decisions. So I'm asking the superintendent to prepare a board study session for us where we can look at boundary changes as well as year-round schooling, because without the passage of Measure P, we'll eventually get there. Need that if something doesn't change. So it's important that we prepare for that. And again, I'd like to ask the superintendent to schedule a study session in January to present information on boundaries as well as year-round schooling that will mitigate the need for new schools temporarily. Thank you.
Thank you. And myself, likewise, I would like to say happy birthday to the Marine Corps and thank everyone who has served and is currently serving, because they allow us to have this wonderful freedom to do as we like here in the United States. So thank you, Gary, for that information. And I look forward to that study session as well on Measure P. We will now move on to recognition and announcements, and I'll hand it over to Mr. Payton.
Thank you, Mr. Aguirre. I'm going to give a brief report before the student recognitions this evening. So I just wanted to give a quick COVID update to our community. Riverside County right now remains in the widespread category. And this past week, we've actually, the data is a little bit worse. We've gone from 11.5 cases per 100,000 to 13.9. And as a reminder, under our current criteria, we need to be under 7 cases per 100,000 to move out of the widespread category. In addition, our positivity rate increased from 5.9% to 6.7%. That is out of the widespread category. It needs to remain under 8. And once we meet both criteria, then we can move into the red substantial tier. Governor Newsom indicated yesterday in a press conference that they're seeing an increase statewide in COVID cases. And in fact, since last Tuesday, 11 more counties have had to move to a more restrictive tier today throughout the state. So that is an alarming trend that is happening. Some other counties that haven't had to move to a more restrictive tier are also seeing an increase in the data. And if that data trends continues, they may also be moving back into more restrictive tiers. So, it's a challenge, obviously, worldwide across our country, our state, and locally. With holidays coming up, I would just want to encourage people. We have several holidays starting tomorrow with Veterans Day. Thank you for mentioning that, Mr. Reller. but we have Thanksgiving and winter break coming up as well. Please just practice the safety protocols outlined by Riverside County University Health System, the California Department of Public Health. Reducing these numbers is really our best hope to getting kids back in school and returning to some form of normalcy when it is safe to do so. And it's not going to happen without everyone being diligent in those safety protocols. So I just encourage you to really think about that over these next few weeks as the holidays occur. Thank you. Okay, now on to a more fun topic for ourselves, our Students of the Month, one of our best times of the evening. Thank you for showing that, Mr. Butler. Our Students of the Month for Boulder Ridge, third grader William Ma Tu and third grader Maribel Nunez. Congratulations to those two from Boulder Ridge. Golf claps, yes. From Harvest Valley, kindergartner Daniel Meza and fifth grader Anthony Mercado. Congratulations to those two Harvest Valley students. From Mesa View Elementary, kindergartner Adrian Colbang and fifth grader Brenna Tonkin. Congratulations, Mesa View students. Romoland Elementary, first grader Joseph Sanchez and fourth grader Angel Herrera Espinoza. Congratulations to those two Romoland Elementary students. And for our middle school, Ethan A. Chase, we have seventh grader Abby Torres and eighth grader Elizabeth Centeno. So congratulations to all students. Principals will make sure you get your appropriate trophy and yard sign. We thank you for the great work that you do. Even in a virtual online learning environment, your great character traits are shining through to your teachers. So we appreciate that and great job.
Okay, we move on to public comments. Do you have any public comments?
No, we do not.
Okay. Employee Association reports. Mr. Murray, do we have any reports?
We have no reports this evening.
Okay. Notice of public hearing. Let's see here. So notice of consideration of adoption of school facility needs analysis and the adoption of alternative school fees. This is the opportunity for the board to solicit and review input from the public regarding the adoption of school facility needs analysis and adopt the alternative school fees. I declare this public hearing open. At this time, the Board of Trustees will receive comments on the adoption of the school facility needs analysis and adoption of alternative school fees. Were there are any members of the public who submitted comments regarding this matter?
No, there were not.
Okay. Seeing that there is no speakers, I hereby declare this public hearing closed. We'll now move on to information items. Recommendations from Riverside County Office of Education regarding learning continuity and attendance plan 2020-2021. Mrs. Wise.
Good evening, board members, cabinet members. The Learning Continuity and Attendance Plan for 2020-2021 was adopted at the September 22nd, 2020 board meeting. It was submitted to the Riverside County Office of Education the next day. The county reviewed the plan and offered both formal and informal feedback. The formal feedback is noted in the letter attached to this board agenda dated October 28, 2020. Per Ed Code, the governing board of a school district shall receive the recommendations submitted by the county superintendent of schools in a public meeting within 15 days of receiving the letter, and that is what we are doing this evening. We are on the 14th day. The formal recommendation provided in the letter was to reevaluate actions in the plan to determine if the actions contributed to increasing or improving services for unduplicated pupils, and to make any edits needed in the plan if needed. In addition to the formal feedback noted in that letter, the county also provided informal feedback about suggested edits for the plan, including in the stakeholder engagement section to revise details to just indicate which actions were recommended by which stakeholder group. In the pupil learning loss section, to state all the district assessments we use for assessing English language arts, math, and English language development. And in the pupil and family engagement section, to organize the sections by tiers of strategic actions like tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3, and add information about communications being provided in English and Spanish. Those recommendations, both formal and informal, resulted in edits that improved and provided clarity in the learning continuity and attendance plan. There were no changes to the actions, services, and expenditures in the plan that was adopted on September 22nd. Later in this meeting, there is an action item recommending approval of the amended learning continuity and attendance plan for 2020-2021 that reflect the recommendations from the county. I welcome any questions at this time.
Is there any questions? Okay, seeing that there's no questions, we'll move on to school plans for student achievement presentation. Ms. Weiss?
This is a presentation about the development and content of the 2020-21 school plans for student achievement. It will be presented by the Director of Educational Services, Michelle Giroux, and our 5 school principals, John Mitchum, Daniel Todd, Cindy Guerretes, Michelle Echeverry, and Chris Hernandez. Later in the agenda, there is a consent item recommending approval of the 5 school plans.
Good evening, members of the community, board members, and members of cabinet. I'm Michelle Giroux, Director of Ed Services. Myself and our school site principals will be presenting this evening on our school plans for student achievement for the 2021 school year. Over the course of last year, our school plan for student achievement template was modified to be more closely aligned with our new state SIPSA template to strengthen the alignment with the new local control and accountability plan, the new template for the 2021 through 2024 school years. This past year, from January through May of 2020, our principals and assistant principals engaged in 4 workshops. And the purpose of these workshops were to build collaboration among site leadership and also to build the capacity for our assistant principals in writing of a school site plan. During the workshops, there was clarity provided on the purpose of the plan and how to align it specifically to the LCAP goals to ensure that the plans were strategic and had measurable actions. Just like our LCAP process, we also wanted our school sites to engage in a similar process, engaging our stakeholders throughout the process and the development of the school site plan, and to identify using data any resource inequities, to analyze those inequities, identify needs, and create strategic goals with actions that are aligned to meet the goals with measurable outcomes. Also, during this time of school closure, our stakeholders were continuously engaged by our school site leadership, both our principals and assistant principals, via virtual school site council meetings and also virtual English Learner Advisory Committee meetings, so that our stakeholders had continuous input in the process of creating these plans and also approving the plans. This evening, each of our school site principals will be discussing a few highlights from their SIPSAs, specifically about how they are able to increase engagement in our virtual instruction and how the use of our categorical Title I and Title III funds were utilized. And our Title I funds are utilized to ensure that we have equitable services for our low socioeconomic and disadvantaged students to close that achievement gap. And our Title III funds are used to assist our English learners in ensuring that they have a program that meets their needs to ensure that they reach English proficiency as quickly as possible. Mr. Mitchum will go ahead and present on Boulder Ridge.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is John Mitchum, the proud principal at Boulder Ridge. Tonight, I will briefly share some ways in which we're utilizing our categorical funds to enhance the learning of all of our students at Boulder Ridge. We know that social emotional learning has always been paramount at Boulder, but it takes an even more important role this year as we continue with our third year in the Later in Me. This year has a strong focus on empowering instruction, which continues the diligent work of learning and practicing leadership and life skills, such as the 7 habits in all walks of life. We're also providing grade level collaboration time for all of our teachers to work in grade levels and vertical teams to plan their first best instruction, as well as to create meaningful common formative assessments in an effort to meet the needs, again, of all of our learners. Lastly, and in this virtual world, we've invested in a myriad of digital resources and tools to help support our staff, our students, and our families during academic instruction, as well as apps such as Seesaw to increase the lines of communication between our teachers, our families, and our students. Within our Title III funds, we've invested in an online application called Imagine Learning. We've been using it for a couple of years now with really great results. All of our EL students will have access to this tried and true resource that supports our English learners on the path to reclassification. We've also provided every EL student with a physical copy of the Wonders ELD companion text to support their literacy in their designated ELD instruction with their teachers. Additionally, we've allocated funds for teachers to engage in EL program development, data analysis, and targeted PD that focuses both on the designated and integrated ELD instruction and implementation, again, with that emphasis on reclassifying our English learners. I want to say thank you guys so much for your continued support for the staff and students and families of Romoland. Thank you guys.
Sorry about that. Greetings to the Romoland School District Board of Education, community members, staff, and cabinet members. My name is Daniel Todd, and I proudly serve the student, staff, and community of Harvest Valley Elementary School. We are a community school, and I'm so happy to serve the children at Harvest Valley and take that responsibility to heart. At Harvest, we're thankful for the ability this year to expand our key programs and initiatives and to make adjustments to best meet the needs of our students during the current situation, which is truly unprecedented. At Harvest Valley, we continue to implement school-wide elementary AVID practices and have even expanded some of the organizational resources and instructional practices associated with this college and career readiness system in order to best meet the needs of our students. Our work in PLCs, that's the teachers working together in groups, continue to follow the latest research and district-wide focus on common best practices. Every one of our teachers uses a special set of protocols to work together in something called impact teams. And that helps every teacher to build the collective efficacy, which simply means we all take responsibility for student learning. This work also helps us create student ownership of their learning, since we want each child to understand that their education is ultimately their responsibility. Our literacy and language development has also expanded as well, thanks to additional funds aimed at ensuring the implementation of Orton Gillingham Literacy Development Program, which is a district-wide practice. And we're also working to provide extracurricular activities, clubs, and events in a virtual format in order to promote student connection and community engagement. And regarding Title III allocations, which focus on English learners, we've added more bilingual, high-interest texts to our digital and physical libraries, and we've expanded the reach of the highly effective online language support program called Imagine Learning. We're thankful for the additional support we've received this year thanks to these funds, and we're so thankful for the support we receive from the district and from the community. Thank you.
Good evening, Governing Board. I'm Cindy Gorettis, the proud principal of Mesa View Elementary School. Working collaboratively with our leadership team, school site council, ELAC, and grade levels, we plan to increase our student achievement during virtual learning with various online resources as listed, as well as ensuring student success with literacy with our DRA kits, leveled readers, and novel sets. Upon the return of students, we will continue to support our noon duties through the online training to support the peaceful playground. Finally, our English learners will continue to be supported with our one-on-one goal setting and teacher release time with our Title III funding to support reclassification. Thank you so much for your ongoing support.
Good evening, board members. I'm Michelle Echeverry, and I'm honored to serve as the principal of Romoland Elementary School. This past year, our school received the California Distinguished Schools Award for Outstanding Achievement over the past few years. Additionally, we were also recognized as a lighthouse school for the Leader in Me. We are committed to the high expectations that we've set for ourselves as a school community, and our SIPSA reflects our priorities and goals. I'd like to highlight for you a few new initiatives we have this year to ensure our continued success. With our Title I funds, stakeholders have collaborated and decided that students will benefit most from teachers who have designated first best instruction. Therefore, funds have been allocated for first, teacher collaboration time. This is collaboration time for teachers to meet in grade level and vertical teams and to plan and design first best instruction that is focused on student learning outcomes. Second, additional monies have been allocated for supplemental digital tools, resources, and materials. In this new world of virtual learning, it is essential that teachers have wide access to an array of digital tools which are engaging, developmentally appropriate, and will best meet students where they're at and support their continued growth. Some of the examples are Boom Cards, Reflex Math, Handwriting Without Tears, Go Formative, and additional Orton Gillingham materials. Third, we have increased our teachers' classroom budgets to be able to best support and meet the needs of students. Our teachers know best the needs of their students, and these additional funds may be used at their discretion to provide additional resources for students. With our Title III funds, RES stakeholders have determined that Imagine Learning licenses and the Wonders ELD companion books are two very effective instructional supports for our English learners. Specifically, these tools are designed for our EL students to support them in their language acquisition and development. We are so excited to be able to use our site funds strategically and intentionally to continue to offer the highest quality education that we can to all students. Thank you.
Good evening, board and cabinet members. My name is Chris Hernandez, and I am the principal of Ethan H. Chase Middle School. Much like the elementary schools, we are using our Title I and Title III funds in a similar fashion in support of our district-wide goals. We are continuing our literacy support program using iLiteracy. Our iLiteracy program is an intensive scripted vocabulary and reading program that is targeted for students reading at or below the 4th grade level. We are also continuing our work towards becoming an avid demonstration school by providing the required trainings for all teachers. In case you did not know, we were named an Avid School of Distinction 2 years ago, which is one step away from the national demo status. We are also providing the supplemental digital resources for students and teachers. For example, purchasing engaging software licenses like Go Formative and physical equipment such as headphones for students. We are providing our department teams time to adjust the units of study, assessment, and the assessments to better fit online learning and to engage our students. And then finally, with Title III, we have gladly brought back the PK program. PK stands for Parent Institute for Quality Education. It is more important now than ever before for us to engage with our families. PK is a 9-week course where parents learn about how to create a supportive home learning environment for students, encourage college attendance as early as kindergarten, support children's social and emotional development, learn how to navigate the school system, and how to collaborate with teachers, counselors, and principals. Currently, we have 65 parents in the program. We started in October and it will end in December. Classes are available in English and Spanish at 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. via Zoom. And this is our 5th year with PK. And during the first 4 years, we have graduated over 300 80 parents in the program. You can see the picture in the slide there. That's one of our graduation groups from a couple of years ago. We do a big graduation. We have a fiesta, and the parents, they all understand that I appreciate a good tamale once in a while, so they make sure they bring tamales. And as always, we thank you for your support.
We welcome any questions at all from the board at this time.
I don't have a question. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, I'm in a poor area. First of all, this goes out to the site administrators and under the direction, of course, of Michelle. I want to thank you, and I think the board wants to thank you for your hard and consistent work and this great presentation, of course. These are unprecedented times, and it's difficult, but you are proving once again that Romoland is a place where learning occurs and hopefully does happen. So I just wanted to make.
Thank you.
And I second that as well. Tough times, and you guys are doing amazing. So if there's no further questions, we will move on to exclusive early education and expansion grant presentation.
Mr. Aguirre?
Oh, yes, sorry.
Just one quick comment, couple quick comments. One is these single plan for student achievement, or school plans for student achievement, missing one major component, which makes these plans even more difficult. Our students did not take the state assessment last year, so they're basing these school plans on formative data or data that was derived from district assessments or other informal assessments. So the work that was put into these was much greater than, as Ms. Kleitz indicated, and it needs to be commended. I'd also like to challenge Romoland Elementary to not only partner with PK at the middle school level, investigate with PK to see if we can do if there's something that we can do pre-K through 8 for our parents. If there's a continuum, because PK has level 1, level 2 at middle school. I'm not sure what they have at elementary school, but if we could figure out a way to partner with PK to do a parent education seminar all the way through elementary and middle school, it'll set our kids up for success, but it'll also set them up for success as they move on to high school and beyond, because their parents will be able to better support them at home. And I do appreciate Chris's hard work with PK and how he recognizes his parents, because sometimes this is the only graduation celebration that they have had. And it is very important, and Chris does a great job of this, and I commend him for that, is getting a lot of parents involved, showing them the importance and keeping them moving in the right direction. And having an English speaking class is not easy to maintain. It takes a lot of work on the principal's behalf to make that happen. So congratulations to Chris and his group and the rest of the principals for putting together these plans without state assessment.
Thank you, Mr. Reller, for your comments, and we will definitely investigate the PK classes that you suggested.
Okay, thank you. We'll now move on to inclusive early education and the expansion grant presentation. Mrs. Weiss.
This is a presentation about the Inclusive Early Education and Expansion Grant. It will be presented by Director of Early Childhood Education, Vanessa Rodriguez, and later in the agenda, there is an action item recommending approval of the grant.
Good evening, board members and members of cabinet. I'm Vanessa Rodriguez. I'm the Program Director for Early Childhood Education. This evening, I'm going to be reviewing information on an opportunity for us to participate in the Inclusive Early Education and Expansion Program grant. It's better said as EAP. It's much easier with that way. So what's the purpose of this grant? This grant is supposed to provide one-time funding for a 3-year period that will support the infrastructure of inclusive practices through facilities, facility improvements, as well as staff professional development. Inclusive practice is an approach to teaching that recognizes the diversity of students, enabling all students to access course content and fully participate in learning activities. It's recognized for meeting the needs of students with disabilities. And of course, the goal of this grant is to increase access to quality inclusive practices for preschool age students. So before I jump into the details of the actual grant, I just want to take a brief moment to look at the timeline of inclusive practices within our preschool programs in Romoland School District. So before 2016-2017 school year, preschool age students with disabilities, they actually attended preschool outside of our district. We contracted with a program at Rob Reiner to provide those services for our students with disabilities. However, in 16-17, we were actually given the opportunity to open up our very first inclusive preschool classroom. This was done in one of our half-day sessions. A couple years later, we expanded that classroom so that we then offered 2 part-day sessions. So that was in 18-19. And one of the things that I wanted to mention was when we very first opened up our program in 16-17, we were able to service 22 students that were in our Head Start as well as state preschool program that had IEPs. Last year, in 19-20, we actually serviced 32 students with IEPs within our Head Start and state preschool programs. So as you can see, there's been a steady increase in the number of preschool age students with disabilities within our district. So a little bit about the grant application. What we wrote for was funding for a modular building to be added at Harvest Valley, which will provide an additional building with 2 classroom spaces. We also wrote for an added restroom inside room 9 at Boulder Ridge, as well as a drinking fountain / bottle fill station on the preschool playground that we share with TK at Boulder Ridge. And of course, staff professional development on inclusive practices. So why should we participate in this grant? Well, first of all, it's going to provide us funding for facilities for a classroom at Harvest Valley. It's going to also provide us additional seats for students at Harvest Valley, as well as improve the facilities at Boulder Ridge and provide students the opportunity to attend their home schools by spreading the inclusive practices across all preschool classrooms. And of course, providing opportunities for early childhood staff to receive professional development on inclusive practices. And that's all early childhood staff, not just the teachers. We're talking instructional aides and teachers. So what comes with this grant? We wrote for $500,000 for a building to be placed at Harvest Valley, $250,000 for the restroom addition and drinking fountain / bottle fill station at Boulder Ridge, and $67,000 for inclusive practices of professional development over the course of 3 years. So you see an aerial map right now of Harvest Valley. That bright green little square at the bottom of your screen is the preschool playground. That is the grassy area of Harvest Valley's preschool playground. This photo here is the actual playground itself, so you have a better view of where we're looking to place the modular building at Harvest Valley. So in addition to expanding our inclusive practices for early childhood in Romoland School District, we have some additional benefits to participating in this grant. We currently service 210 students, Head Start and state preschool. This grant will provide us the opportunity to offer additional slots to more students, 20 to 25 students to be exact. And this will also allow us to provide a classroom back to Harvest Valley. We stay in room 4 right now, one of our classrooms does, and we will be moving that classroom to the new building. So this classroom, room 4, will be able to be utilized for a K-5 classroom at Harvest Valley. In addition, we actually use 2 restrooms that used to be adult restrooms at Boulder Ridge. Those restrooms will get to go back to the adults, and we'll have our own restroom in the classroom for the preschoolers. I welcome any questions at this time.
It sounds like this is a win-win all around for Romoland Elementary School District. Does that sound about right?
Absolutely, yes.
We get, Mr. Reller, we get basically buildings without the cost coming out of our general fund. We recoup a classroom at Harvest Valley, which is impacted. So we gain another classroom of space there. We also get to build a restroom in the current preschool classroom at Boulder Ridge, which will allow that restroom to be used for other purposes as Boulder Ridge. Obviously, you see all the building going around Boulder Ridge. So those restrooms will become important to go back to the school site versus dedicated specifically for the preschool program.
Correct.
I might have missed this, but when is the grant going to be granted?
Well, we actually have an award letter that is part of today's agenda.
I'm sorry, Vanessa, I couldn't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now? Okay. You will actually have an opportunity to vote on that later on in this meeting, and you do have a copy of the award letter.
And then the funds would be granted almost ASAP. The
Correct.
county is ready to distribute the funds quickly.
For sure.
Were there any other questions for Vanessa at this time? Okay, thank you.
Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you. Okay, we will now move on to the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are approved in one motion. Do any of the board members have any comments or questions?
I have one question. Are we having any difficulties in maneuvering around the law when classified staff have to take the COVID leave and are unable to return, and then they need to take sick time and personal necessity and all that stuff, and then maybe leave?
We haven't run into the problem of having staff leave the district. We've had some people that have taken some leave of absences related to COVID, and that extended into a personal necessity, sick leave, or vacation balances as well. And we have those conversations with individual employees as that comes up.
Do we have any employees where all that is run out?
We may begin to point fairly soon about that. I don't believe we have anybody that's run out of all 3 of the options at this time.
Okay. I think, and I'd like to know, just in a Friday communique, what happens when our classified staff run out of all that stuff?
We'll make sure we include that. Thank you, Mr. Reller.
Okay, is there any other comments or questions for the consent agenda? Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor? Mrs. Kleitz?
Aye.
Mr. Reller?
Aye.
And myself, aye. So we will now move on to action items. N1, COVID-19 surveillance testing for staff, Mr. Murray.
Approval of this item will allow the district to continue our district surveillance monitoring by doing COVID testing for all district employees. This next round of testing would take place in December.
Do any board members have any comments or questions? Do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second? I'll second it. All in favor, Mrs. Kleitz,
Aye.
Mr. Reller,
Aye.
myself, Mr. Gary, aye. Okay, N2, adoption of Reso number 11, 2020-2021, approving school facility needs analysis, adopting alternative school facility fees, complying with CA Ed Code Section 17620, Gov Code Section 65995.5, 65995.6, 65995.7, and 600, adopting responses to public comments, making related funding demonstrations. Ms. Cole?
Yes. So according to government code, a school district must conduct and adopt a school facility needs analysis, also known as an SFNA, as one of the prerequisites to levy alternative fees on new residential construction. So when the board adopts Resolution 11, this signifies that you approve the SFNA and also allows us to levy alternative school facility fees, also known as level 2 developer fees.
Do you have any comments or questions?
So my question is, how does this help us? And what impact is this having on our ability to accurately project our facility needs?
The way that this helps us is by adopting a level 2 developer fee. It's slightly more than the level 1 fees that are currently being collected, which goes into a specific restricted fund for future facilities needs. And the second part of your question was, how does this help us to determine our facility needs?
Yes.
It's not like the Davis demographics work that's done for us to project our facilities needs. Doug from Koppel and Gruber is also in this meeting, and I'd like for him to give us a little bit more of an explanation, if you don't mind, on the SFNA and the actual, what that yields for us, the information that analysis yields for us.
Certainly. Thank you, Carol. Good evening, board members, cabinet. Again, I'm Doug Floyd. I'm with the firm Koppel and Gruber Public Finance. We assisted the district with preparation of the school facilities needs analysis. I think the terminology gets a bit confusing because it's named a school facilities needs analysis. It's really a funding formula that's set forth by the state, and this funding formula is used in the calculation and justification of alternative school fees. It generally projects students generated from new residential development, and in this case, it is any residential development that is not currently under a separate mitigation agreement. For example, the district has community facilities districts which are subject to alternative mitigation. And so it makes a projection of those students coming out directly from those homes over the next 5 years. And then it applies a very specific cost analysis that doesn't represent necessarily true cost of the district in providing for school facilities, but it provides what the state allows the district to include in this funding formula. So it doesn't necessarily show you how many facilities you need It just provides a basis upon which the district can determine how much in fees that the district can charge on new residential development as it comes online.
Is this used in any way to determine state matching funds?
It is not. No,
Okay.
it is not. It is just a very specific formula. It says, here's a projection of students, here's certain costs that you can include. These are driven by state grants that the state allocation board approves every year. And then it allows you to include certain costs for site acquisition and site development. So I just caution that it doesn't include the true cost to the district, just what the state allows in the funding formula.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, Mrs. Claes,
Aye.
Mr. Reller,
Aye.
myself, Mr. Gary, aye. So we'll move on now to N3, resolution number 12, 2020-2021, resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Romoland School District pertaining to developer fees. Ms. Cole?
Yes, so again, this is a compliance issue with government code where we are reporting the annual and 5-year developer fees that have been collected and expended. So a board adoption or approval of this resolution indicates that we are in compliance with this particular government code.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, Ms. Claes,
Aye.
Mr. Reller,
Aye.
and myself, Mr. Gary, aye. N4, learning continuancy and attendance plan amended 2020-2021. Mrs. Wise to explain.
This is the amended learning continuity and attendance plan for 2020-21 with amendments reflecting the recommendations from the Riverside County Superintendent of Schools as shared earlier in this meeting. Staff recommends approval of the plan.
Is there any comments or questions? Okay, do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, Mrs. Claes,
Aye.
Mr. Reller,
Aye.
and myself, Mr. Gary, aye. N5, inclusive early education and expansion grant award. Ms. Wise?
This is the Inclusive Early Education and Expansion Grant as presented earlier by Vanessa Rodriguez. It is a one-time funding grant for a 3-year period to support improvements for our preschool programs by adding the preschool building with 2 classrooms in it at Harvest Valley Elementary, adding the restroom to Boulder Ridge Elementary, adding a drinking fountain bottle fill station to the preschool playground at Boulder Ridge Elementary, and providing funds for staff development. Staff recommends acceptance of the grant with approval of this item.
Do I have any comments or questions?
Yes, Mrs. Weiss, just to clarify, so the minute we approve this, the money's on its way, right?
Yes, they've been pressing us. They want us to get this, and so, you know, we've made sure we got it on this board agenda for you.
Okay, all right, great, thanks.
One thing that caught my eye was bottle fill stations.
Yeah.
Great thing to roll into this plan, especially in the COVID-19 pandemic. On a side note, love to just get a count of bottle fill stations we have at every campus. And if we don't have them at every campus, is there a plan to get them to every campus? Thank you.
Thank you. We'll note that. Give you that information.
Do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, Ms. Claes,
Aye.
Mr. Reller,
Aye.
and myself, Mr. Gary, aye. N6, memorandum of understanding between the Romoland School District and the Romoland's Teachers Association addendum for small group cohorts. Mr. Murray.
This is an addendum to our school reopening agreement with the Romoland Teachers Association that we settled in, I believe it was July of this year. This specifically addresses the small group cohorts for targeted student groups, such as the Academy Program, RISE program, and Learning Center classrooms.
Is there any comments or questions?
I just want to make one short comment about our associations working to get this memorandum of understanding completed. So I appreciate that.
I would like to add to what Ms. Clyde said. Many of us are in positions to, in CSBA and listen to other board members throughout the state of California and the relationships that they have with their bargaining units and the difficulty that they're having in passing and negotiating these memorandums of understanding. We are by far in much better shape than other districts in this state. Earlier in the year, in this COVID-19 pandemic, I made a comment about why do we even need a MOU? We have such a great relationship with our bargaining unit, and as we've drug on through this, I've come to realize that MOUs are a necessity to ensure that one, we're thinking of everything to ensure that our staff is safe, our students are safe, that everybody knows clearly what we're going to be doing and how to support our staff and our students and our community. So, like I said, and Ms. Clyde said, great relationship. I couldn't be happier with the work that is being done between both of our bargaining units and the district. So thank you for the work that our bargaining units do, as well as our district staff.
I agree 100%. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Make a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, Ms. Kleitz?
Aye.
Mr. Rowler?
Aye.
And myself, Mr. Aguirre, aye. N7, purchase of Google Chromebook devices for students and staff. This would be Mr. Butler.
Yes, so this purchase of Chromebooks will be used to replace student devices that were scheduled for retirement last year, but were kept in service to support our one-to-one expansion that was required for virtual instruction this year. It will also replace student Chromebooks that are reaching the end of their useful life during this school year, as well as approximately 60 teacher laptops that are at least 5 years old and are also in need of replacement.
Are there any comments or questions?
I love my Chromebook.
I'm happy to hear that.
Okay, do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, Ms. Kleitz,
Aye.
Mr. Reller,
Aye.
myself, Mr. Geary, aye. And 8, network equipment upgrade at Harvest Valley Elementary, Romoland Elementary, Mr. Butler.
So this project will upgrade the network equipment at Romoland Elementary as well as Harvest Valley Elementary. These two schools have the oldest network infrastructure of our schools. They were originally slated for upgrades beginning in 2022, but with the unexpected increase in the number of wireless student devices that will be in use at our schools, once our students return to campus, we feel it's prudent to move this project up a little bit on the schedule so that we can provide equity with our other schools and make sure that those devices operate reliably once our students come back.
Is there any comments or questions? Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
And a second right here.
All in favor, Ms. Kleitz,
Aye.
Mr. Reller,
Aye.
and myself, Mr. Gary. Aye. There is no need to go into closed session. So I will.
Mr. Aguirre, I think you'll go to any board member closing comments.
Yes, here we go. Okay. So board member closing comments. Ms. Kleitz.
Yes, real short. Mr. Riller, the butter-filled stations at every school site is a great suggestion. So looking forward to the staff looking into that. Really important there. And also, Mr. Riller, I want to thank you for looking in or suggesting a special study session in the event that our Measure P isn't going to pass, because we're going to need a special study session to look at things like year-round school and other facility, needs that we might have and decisions that we might need to make.
Okay. Mr. Reller?
None. Thank you.
And I have nothing to report. So our meeting will be adjourned. Our regular board meeting is adjourned at 7:27 p.m. Have a good night, everyone.